So, boys, have you seen the latest adaptation of Netflix of that child murder? How is it called? Adolescence, bros.
Something like that.
My God, that's crazy. So,
Well, from I heard of it, it's the adaptation of a child murderer, but they
race swap. Yeah, they race swapped it from the real child murderer. It's a black kid, 13-year-old black kid, and they switched it up with a white kid. Bro, if that ain't anti-white propaganda, I don't know what is.
This is because if you reverse the roles and you make a movie that was like Jeffrey Dahmer or something like that,
Yeah.
and you reverse the colors or the races or whatever, it's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if the roles are reversed, now it's cool.
That's
It's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't. Obviously won't watch it, but I remember I saw Keir Starmer even tweeted about it, saying he sat down with his family and watched it because it's just such a harrowing tale, you know.
Oh my God!
It's just the violence epidemic. Oh, it's crazy. I'm just the what's his title? PM or something.
Prime Minister. Yeah.
Prime Minister, yeah.
It's laughable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's laughable. It's laughable if there weren't people dying because of it. That's the only thing. So I chose the wrong word there, but it's just like you said. It's blatant anti-white propaganda. That is all it boils down to, essentially.
Well, it boils down to our reactions of being laughable because exactly the only reactions that we are allowed to have in our societies.
That's a
this
good
is
point.
Dangerous. This is very dangerous because we cannot even react to said racism against our own cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is the subject of today's podcast: brainwashing, subversion, programming, conditioning, all the nice and fun stuff that we've been subjected for more than 80 years by now. The Western world has been, let's say, a brainwash. Yeah, a brainwashing experiment since the end of World War II, I would say.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Hollywood was created to feminize the American public slowly through making everyone, they started it before everyone was a hero, things. And you have to think about the ideologies of superheroes, the pounding ideals and morals and psychology. We don't, as a white Aryan society, white societies, we don't expect people to lie or use us. You know, we're just nice people.
That's true. We're naturally very trusting, and
yeah. We are a high trust continent. Europe, it used to be, at least. America also, it used to be a high trust society when it was 95% predominantly white people.
White Christian people.
Yeah, that's a historical fact. I mean, you can look at the crime statistics from 1940s and look at the crime statistics today. It's night and day. Yeah.
But what was even then, what was the elevation in crime? What was the cause in the U.S. in those years for the and it's going to be funny because it really falls into conditioning. It was they brought a large portion of immigration from Europe, of Italians and families that had very weird affiliations. And those crime families are still going on in Montreal and New York and Chicago, and you know what I mean? So
Detroit.
Detroit. I mean, and they slowly, it's always the slow takes away of Christianity, and they impose to us a minority saying, well, it's just a little bit of them.
Yeah, but this is what Hollywood does. Hollywood, if you actually look deeper into most of their movies, they're is bound to you are bound to find something anti-Christian in almost every movie, almost every horror movie.
Yep.
Something that just detracts from anyone who might view it. If someone was to view it, they would just have some innate anti-Christ response, whether it was just from consuming it or like whether they believe it or not initially. But it's just Well, whenever I
Yeah.
looked at was it MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer,
Yeah.
that was a big thing because you see them everywhere. You see, I'm not proud of it. I didn't really enjoy it, but I went to Vegas once a couple of years ago, and I was like, this is the new Sodom and Gomorrah, first of all. But then
Yeah.
you see MGM, they're on sports stadiums, they're on casinos, they're obviously in Hollywood, and so that was just yet another coincidence that kind of sent me down this path of research where I was just kind of like, well, that's interesting, just some more antichrist,
Mhm.
culturally degenerative practices being promoted.
Or you
Yep.
could say it was a coincidence.
Cohen, yeah, Cohen.
Yeah,
Really,
gave me the heebie-jeebies for sure.
Yeah.
there's still communities of Christianity that Christianity is very prominent, and I hear about them a lot more. And example, I have a background French Canadians, and they're feeling that I was warning a lot of people for a long time about Christianity being under attack and everything, and they're like, "Come on, Mac, it's just movies, it's just this and that." But they're
Exactly.
seeing it. They're seeing it right now, and they're feeling it a lot.
Yeah, well, this is their final resort. This is they tried to erase Christianity from American and European homes as well since the inception of Hollywood, I would say.
Pretty much. Well, before that, they attacked the popery. They started with the Medici banks and the principalities in the time of Machiavelli. They took power in Italy, and all the fundamental people that had a big amount of the riches of Europe. Then they took in 1900s, just before the First World War, they took and they changed the popery to include Jews.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
ethnical Jews.
ethnical.
Ethnical, not converts from Judaism. No, ethnical. It's a different thing. Yeah. So I was emphasizing that because I want the audience to understand the difference between the two.
The two, yeah.
Yeah.
So Hollywood is the kind of like, there was always public discourse. There was always kind of a theater of politics. But it became very Christianized to a certain extent where they used Christianity in politics. A lot of us try to take Christianity out of politics, not because we want to take Christianity out of our countries, but because it's not something to vote on, You can't bribe your citizens on being Christians or their religious beliefs. If it's a free country. If not, it becomes conditioning in a way. So they use Christianity to condition Europe into taking certain decisions that would lead us to what we are today. And look at Trump. He says that he's pro-Christian.
No, he's not.
Oh, let me go kiss this wall real quick. I gotta kiss this wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. I mean.
Yeah. And anyway, another 100 billion to Israel.
Oh, jeez. It's So I mean, to me, it's just very like logical perspectives, but it's hard to interpret to normie or people that are not used to all of this, connecting all the dots.
It's just there's a thick layer of like subversion and subjugation that is on everyone. It's like I was raised, up to my eyes in indoctrination, and so up until recently, the last 2 years, I viewed them as my brothers because, oh, it's like, oh, well, well, Jesus was technically, he was Jewish, right? It was just, I accepted all these things that were thrown at me at face value, and then let that ingrain in myself some beliefs. So it wasn't until like you actually start, bearing the brunt of the ignorance that you actually start questioning things. So it's like, well, what am I sending my taxes to? I'm I'm working until 65, and then my company, graciously decides to let me retire, and then, and then I just, in my dad's case, he dropped dead within a month, of like after his retirement. So it's like,
Oh,
yeah, and
oh
he
my
didn't even
God.
technically retire. He retired in medical issues. Like, so it's
My
like
God.
I looked at,
I'm sorry.
I look, yeah, it's all
Sorry
right.
for
It
that.
was it was a couple of years ago, and I'm
Oh
just
my
grateful to
God.
have, I'm grateful to have a relationship with my father where I miss him dearly, because a lot of
Mhm.
children don't, a lot of children don't have that relationship with their parents. But I remember
It's
looking at like,
it's a good thing you know that and you
yeah,
acknowledge that.
yeah, that definitely helped me through the grieving process for sure. But
Amen.
I just looked at, he got, thrown around in this world, and even so, it didn't necessarily wake them up. It's like people just react to their environment around them. So I'm getting a little off track, I guess, but
It-
I just think
yeah,
that I just think that
it
it's very essential that we try and communicate to people that, you know,
no, it's not. It's really important what you said. It's the ideal of community. We have lost the trust of our own communities and structures because we have been told by many others that we are bad men, hence the
yeah,
conditioning.
yeah,
Yeah, we've been
So,
told we are white devils because of our ancestors, what they did hundreds of years ago.
oh
Bro,
yes,
I am here. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of trying to fit in and admitting that my ancestors were conquerors. Okay, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my culture. I'm not ashamed of my ancestors, how they fought and conquered the world. Basically, I
they built the
I
why
mean,
societies we're benefiting from now. Even though the
exactly?
societies have fallen, we still built them. Our ancestors still built them, so we have a right to fight for them.
let me ask you a question, gentlemen. If the white race was such a violent and uncivilized society, why are they still there to talk about it?
If
Exactly.
anything, it's the only societies that are still here today.
Functional.
It's the only host for parasites. It's like I don't other than, other than the stuff that happened in Africa. It's like with like, Gaddafi and stuff like that. Like, you don't really see tons of subversion tactics going on in Africa unless some materials are found, or like some, or some political person might unify something. It's really only the cultures, the cultural centers of whites that are the ones being
Christian,
targeted. Yeah. Yes.
Christian whites.
Yeah,
They burned
absolutely.
how many of our churches burnt in the last 20 years?
Notre
Even looking
Dame.
at the last 2 years, it'll make you want to go on a crusade.
Yeah, it will make your blood boil.
I
Mhm.
hate it. They're yeah, and our government funds some of these people that are smashing these churches over there.
Yes.
That's one of the things where I realize,
Yeah.
we're just the bad guys.
The pro Palestine people are the same people that burn our churches.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. But you see, the pro-Palestinian people are used. They are. I'm not saying that I hate them. No, I'm saying that they are useful, not useful idiots, but useful.
They're
How
useful
to,
just in general. I mean,
sol-
They're
their
foot
they're
geographical
soldiers.
region.
weapons.
Foot
They're
soldiers.
weapons.
Foot
They're
soldiers, I
weapons.
would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For invading, more or less for invading through an immigration invasion of Europe. What
Mhm.
what they do? They bomb Syria, they bomb Palestine, they bomb Lebanon, they bomb Yemen, and what what are those people gonna do? Well, of course, flee to Europe or America.
Well, they put the responsibility on us too.
Yeah,
That's the
So-
whole bleeding heart, the bleeding heart of today's politics, where, America and, all these global organizations can just like, we can fix everything, And so, so suddenly, oh, well, if we told our people we can fix everything, so suddenly we have operations everywhere. And,
yeah,
it's aggravating to
Weird.
see people still just in the thick of it, in the thick of the indoctrination. They think that our government just at one point decided to start lying to us, sometime after JFK's assassination. It's like,
Did they
so-
ever speak the truth to you?
I'm like, wait, so you think that so they weren't lying about why we went into the world wars, but at some point afterwards, they decided to start lying and subjugating us.
yeah.
But people are just, they're interested in whatever is least, like, effort exerting, so whatever intellectual conflicts they have with what the truth might be, it's not of any concern to them. And that's something I've really learned just working in some office job, where just people they're just talking about sports, or talk about the Super Bowl or basketball, or I mean, just or some headlines that MSN decides to place on a plate in front of them, like, oh, tariffs. If I hear one more comment from some Californian transplant about tariffs, so I don't know, and I'm glad, and genuinely, I'm glad I found a group of guys and gals like y'all, because I just I just think that I would have lost my mind, if I wasn't.
Derek,
have
how
some.
do you think? Sorry, Derek, how do you find Pam Bondi?
What'd you say?
How do you find Pam Bondi at the
Oh
news?
my God, that hag.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't keep up with politics sometimes because it annoys me so much. But yeah,
She's gonna release the files.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're definitely
Yeah.
not pulling our leg on that.
She's not a bimbo.
Dude, it's all a humiliation ritual, right? They're like,
Yes,
we're
it
gonna put-
is.
It looks like a humiliation.
Yeah, it is.
Ritual.
I mean, legitimately, it is. They're like, oh, okay, we're gonna put like all of the most corrupt and just like
No,
morally
sir.
reprehensible
No, sir.
people
Cash
in
Patel
positions
has
of
our
power.
backs.
Just oh my
Mhm.
goodness! Don't even get me started.
Cash Patel, the guy with the stare of a million.
Yeah,
Stare of a million. Just
the ones who received the most money from APAC.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, AIPAC's sole purpose is to get people elected who will support Israel,
Yeah.
But Derek,
and yet they're not registered as a foreign lobby.
But isn't like the American government and constitution made to avoid religious kind of supremacies in the government? Wasn't it kind of? But it's still based on a Christian system.
Well, I mean, that's a misunderstanding that has been placed in people's minds today. I mean, this country wasn't founded as some like a religious sanctum where anyone could come to. I mean, it was founded as a Christian society for Europeans, where they could practice any confession of Christianity. Basically, that's the separation of church and state. It's not, oh, we'll bring in all the Christians and we'll bring in all of the Hindus and all the Muslims and all the Jews and pagans and everything. It's not that. It's
that was a big
because
thing of brainwashing that I was raised with as well, was that, oh, we're just, people came here and built this country to escape religious persecution of all kinds. We're just a big melting pot. That melting pot, that was a big thing. Yeah, that was just another point of, disconnect, where I was like, wait, well, who coined the term melting pot? And then, then you turn that stone over, and that's just one of the many. So I don't know. It's like, it was tough for me to kind of get past the brainwashing and then to see that.
Try to say to a French Canadian melting pot.
Well, shit.
It will be
From what I
like,
see in
what?
Canada nowadays, it seems like everything that they envisioned, you know, with the term melting pot, it's a shit show.
That's a part of condition. They control the multimedia platform and the mainstream. So for every one of us, we all look like we're in the worst position. There's this and that because they are not paid to show the positive perspectives of society and the people that are waking up.
That's a good point.
The general feeling around people, French Canadians never loved or never admired or never endured the immigrants. They were imposed by the federal government that we didn't sign the charter of. So to my gut feeling, if, example, the US would go and decide to take that conditioning and put it right back in the place where it belongs on the slave boats and go back to the places where they come from, that would follow you.
That would take a colossal, titanic effort.
Yep, but
it don't takes get a strong will. It's still doable.
Well, Mac made a good point too. Mac made a good point about the suppression of the same feelings that we are feeling now, that that people are feeling around the globe. You know, they've seen their cultures and societies subverted, but that just makes sense. The current media infrastructure would not in any way want to give oxygen to the fire of nationalism. You know, it's like they would never want people. They would not even give it a headline. So that's a good point. You know, so it really is just the fear. You know, the fear selling. You know, the fear selling point.
Dude, even worse, Christianity. Because in Montreal, it's illegal for me to go and make a stand with a cross and start talking about Jesus Christ.
Really?
Yes, sir.
What? I genuinely did not know that. I mean, I knew that was coming here. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well,
for y'all.
yeah.
Oh my!
They still think that there's like 94 genders.
They outlawed like street preaching, is what you mean?
Yep.
Wow.
Christian,
okay.
Yeah, this is like dangerous, and I'm telling people, like, you don't understand in which direction we're going. But they allowed sodomites, they allowed this, they allowed that. Now they take our rights away from our Christian white nations and make them crimes, while it's even a crime to speak against a certain minority that is against our religion.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That minority, it just happens to be all funded by AIPAC. Wow.
Oh no, hold on. You're getting into some anti-Semitic territory there.
Oh, naughty me. Yeah,
no,
sure.
You can't. No, we're not doing that here. We're just talking about truth.
Yeah, and you know, all this.
But that is true.
All right.
You'll
be hearing from my lawyer.
Boy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and this thing, I believe that started the catalyst was Bolshevism. Communism was the main catalyst of trying to subvert the idea of a nation. What is a nation, actually? A nation is reported, it's an ethnicity, the people, it's a nation, the culture, the tradition, and the religion of that particular nation. That forms the nation. And also, of course, all that binds it together, it's religion and family. Mm-hmm. And what have they tried to do since Bolshevism existed? Well, they tried to deconstruct the tree, the family tree, the family unit.
Yep.
the traditional family unit, the idea of a nation. That's what the Soviet Union was. You know that the Soviet Union was a huge state. It engulfed Kazakhstan of today, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Estonia, Lithuania, and parts and Ukraine and Belarus and Moldova, from my country. This was the first biggest colossal experiment in globalism. Globalism is synonymous with the ideology of communism, and this is what we in the Western world have been going into this direction, but not the direction of economical communism or socialism, a socialist-based economy. We're still a capitalistic economy, although very welfare-driven, and we have programs and so forth. But the cultural globalization of the Western world has been try to penetrate the European mind, the European culture since the inception of the European Union, I would say. I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with the Kalergi Plan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is the Kalergi Plan? Well, YouTube will likely make a note there. Oh, the Kalergi Plan is a conspiracy theory, although it is a Wikipedia page dedicated to that. And exactly what Kalergi said. He said explicitly, he said that Europe should be a melting pot of religions, ethnicities, and so forth. And he is one of the founding fathers of the idea, the European Union.
Mm-hmm. And one of the creators of the buzzwords that they use today to stop people from speaking.
Yes, yeah. And people need to realize that the Soviet Union subverted the Western world since the beginning of the Cold War. And this is what Yuri Bezmenov warned us about in the early 80s.
Oh, yes.
You know, yes, he warned us about this, and when you try to tell them that you're already a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but in reality, the silly billies from the Soviet Union, they ate all the bread. Technically speaking, they ate all the resources of Russia, Ukraine, and all the other countries from the Soviet Union, and then after the Soviet Union fell, they went to the Western world.
Here we are.
Yes, the Bolsheviks from the Soviet Union emigrated into America, into Canada, UK, and all Europe, because if you think about it, and
this was a mess.
It is a parasitical class of people. It is a parasitical
host.
Exactly. And what they do, they subvert, they brainwash, they condition the masses. And when I talk bribery of politicians, bribery of corporations also, because in the Western world, the corporations more or less run the show. Let's face it. I mean, democracy, the word democracy, it's just a stupid word.
It's a farce. It's a farce now.
Exactly. It's irrelevant. Democracy is equal with oligarchy.
Yep.
It might as well be at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
But they won't admit it because they're using words to manipulate people by emotional reaction. So for a certain type of people, they will use a certain type of, like my best example, the Americans. When you liberated Europe, they started to push for the liberty of women. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And it became a type of spiritual, emotional push for feminism.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Also, guys, don't look out who were the figureheads, the key figureheads behind the early feminist movement. Don't look that up. Don't look that up.
Don't look up what their ethnicity and religion was.
Yeah.
Definitely don't do that.
Yeah.
Stop.
You might find something in common.
Stop.
Yeah.
So if we look at what happened,
You call your lawyer.
Yeah, when they did that to the USD, because my father explained that to me, and I was born in ex-Yugoslavia, so I was kind of taught about the communistic system. It's not like my Croatian grandfather could have went outside and spoke well about someone in World War II. He would have been taken to prison. But he explained me that communism was implied in America through socialism, but socialism ends up to be polite communism when there's no republic or a national republic taking like a moral police on it. So when they did that, they slowly started to feminize and push the ideologies of that to really attack men, the foundation of our Christian society. What did they attack after in the 70s? The churches and everything.
If you attack the masculine role of a man, you basically won, I would say, 25% of the fight of the subversion. I mean, the brainwashing, because a feminized society, it is a society that is ripe for the taking.
Well, it's communistic.
Yeah.
That is us.
Yes, sir.
It is ripe for the taking because it is a weak, feminized society, and it's prone to impulse.
Yes, and be overtaken by a more masculine-prone society or culture like the Islamic ones that they are flooding our countries with. So you bring in a very aggressive, zealous more than we are, because Christians have been pacified to the point of accepting everything. So you bring those zealots in our countries where we're super accepting and empathic, and you have what we have, a good setup for a big mess.
Yeah, that's why you have let's say a brown individual running his car into a Christmas festival, killing 25 people.
Yep.
In Germany, and they did it twice. Yeah, and that's not the only case. In every single day since Angela Merkel signed that I don't know, constitution law, I don't know what she signed, that we would accept all refugees from the Middle East and Africa. And Angela Merkel destroyed Europe single-handedly,
yes.
and now Ursula von der Leyen, Kaja Kallas, and all those brainwashed, useful idiots, I would say, they are doing her bidding, and they are just promulgating this.
Well, they're continuing the domino effect of the communist system.
Exactly, and the Kalergi plan.
And the Kalergi plan, too. Because if you look at Europe itself, my grandfather fought the communists.
my great uncle as well.
So, that's how he told me. Like, to him, he fought the communists. When you hear the story in the West, it's not the same ideal. You see, it's really confusing for people in Europe. At the moment, there's only the Slavic nations that have a chance. But the rest of them have not listened to anything. And France, Germany, England, they are all set up for a big mess. And it's pushed by the same people that have started in the 1900s, the decadence of our society.
I would say that also the Polish, but you said
Well,
Slavic.
Slavic.
Yeah. Do you consider Polish people Slavic? I would
Depends on
say,
where they come from. It's like in Croatia, you have a Austro-Hungarian Croatian. So it depends from Polish. There's a certain percentage I'd consider as fellow Slavic.
I would say the only nations in Europe that, at this moment of recording this podcast, are the most, let's say, preserving with their culture, with their ethnicities. It would be Serbia, my country, Romania, and Poland. That would be kind of it.
Croatia.
And Croatia, yeah, I forgot about Croatia. Yes, and um, mostly the eastern part of Europe is less tolerant with immigrants.
LGBTQ.
Yes, all this globalist stuff, and that's why you see a major pushback from all those countries, because let's take my country for example, Romania. Most of us are hardened nationalists.
Yep.
In
but
Romania.
man, if you look at the difference, it's just that it's very hard to feminize Slavic nations because they've been constantly at war. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember when my people were at peace I think it was just now, okay, when the Yugoslavia exploded and everything. But America and the West world have been living in the soft bubble of liberty. You get it? Freedom, liberty. They've been using that to kind of put people into a bubble effect, the citizens of America, in a kind of like cushioned out. There's no big events, not being a big war in America in very long time. You didn't see famine, destruction, and the only place you have that in America, well, they have been overtaken by people
immigrants.
And black communities. Detroit destroyed, Chicago destroyed, Atlanta destroyed, New York war zone. I wouldn't go in New York right now. Los Angeles,
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Detroit. Oh, you mentioned Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would correct you on a single nitpick. You said that the Slavic countries are the most, or only the Slavic countries are hardened. And I will correct you on this. Romania is not a Slavic country.
Well, okay, no. If you cut Europe in after the Adriatic Sea, from the right side going to more of the Russian part, it's hard to feminize those countries, those nations, because of their involvement with wars constantly in their nations. But exactly. I mean, Americans on American soil, 9/11?
Okay, but that was a very small minority.
But I'm asking, that's the last really event that was traumatizing for Americans on American soil.
Yeah,
and I don't know any other.
And I would say that they used 9/11 to, there's no...
Shock and awe.
Yeah, and of course, there's no point in talking about 9/11 and their... and the involvement of, with 9/11 and the motive behind 9/11 to invade most Middle Eastern countries for their resources.
And their central bank.
And the central bank.
What was Saddam working on? I think he was trying to make his own money based on gold.
Exactly.
No, you can't do that.
Let me tell you a story. Him, Gaddafi, and Ceausescu from Romania, they tried to make a central bank based on gold, and they wanted to get off the IMF, International Monetary Fund.
You mean the usury system?
Yeah, the usury system.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can't do that.
No.
And the pretext for the invasion of Iraq was, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Kuwait is basically a city, a small area that is very, very rich in oil, and that was the pretense.
Wasn't it weapons of mass destruction?
Oh, and also that stupid story, yeah.
Yeah, that was the main. That was the main.
Derek, you know.
What am I trying to say? Brainwashing tactic in the U.S.
Yep.
Weapons of mass
Arms
destruction.
of weapon destruction.
But oil is good for rubbing your hands
Jones.
together.
I remember Alex Jones. We gotta go at them globalists. The weapons of mass destruction are in the Middle East. I was like, oh Lord, oh no.
And remember, who was the one guy who was the biggest advocate for this? Oh, America should go to the Iraq and invade Iraq because Saddam Hussein no doubtly has. Who?
Wasn't it Colin Powell?
No. It was Netanyahu.
Milakowski.
Oh well, yeah, of course. There you go, Dubs.
Good old Milakowski.
I have a video with him explaining that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, he was like sitting before some big old committee, some big crowd behind him or whatever, just talking about how he absolutely needed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can't do war.
Ugh.
Yeah, and you know what sparked after? Boys, have you seen how many movies about the Iraq war,
My goodness,
Afghanistan war, bros? 99% of them are just blatant propaganda.
Oh yeah, and I consumed it. I consumed it, and I'm unashamedly, like, as I was growing up, I consumed every one of these little war propaganda films. Oh, you know, it wasn't until like you see some of the what was it? There was a CBS, and not CBS maybe, but there was some like reporter that went over, you know, during the Middle East, and like, you know, actually like purported some of the shit that was going on, and I don't know. It wasn't until I saw the actual like VHS tapes that he brought back essentially that I was just like, this is we've been sold a farce, an absolute lie. And then after, you know, I already went down the rabbit hole to see like a younger Netanyahu, good old Milakowski.
Yeah.
You know, to see him just sitting there pleading, just as a bleeding heart is that, oh, you know, if we do not yada yada, we'll just do this. You know, all this silly billy stuff. You know, just to get us to send more of our white brothers and sisters over there. Just put them in the field of danger. It really was just a disconnecting moment for me.
And they wanted also money. And
yeah, like I said, oil is good for rubbing your hands together. You know,
boy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you need always they created the system based on big pharma and big weapon manufacturing, so you need to keep the machine going, bro.
Wait, was Big Soda involved? I remember seeing some people, you know, some MAGA patriots talking about Coca-Cola. Big Soda. Oh yeah, dude, that's Big Soda. You're just, oh my gosh, don't be anti-Semitic, but just it's Big Soda and Big Pharma and big government and big war manufacturing.
But the conditioning, brothers, is kind of breaking off because if not, the actors wouldn't be moving out of the U.S.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. The people, and just as like speaking as someone like observing some like regular people who are still completely immersed, like they haven't responded to any of like my kind of nudges towards reason. everyone is just digging into their distractions, whether that's like, well, specifically for my coworkers, it's golf and drinking, and everyone, I feel like it's reaching a fever pitch where people are subconsciously digging into their distractions to avoid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
this is what propaganda and brainwashing is. It is basically a distraction from the realities of our lives, or realities of politics.
Well, yeah, but a communistic socialist community and world is pretty much less mature than the rest. So that's what they're doing. They're creating a very immature society based on emotions and flashy colors and words and loud noises. So most of the majority of people are sleeping in a bubble, and they can't stop that little resonance around it. If not, if the bubble pops,
that's their life. That's their that's everything.
That's everything in one boom.
And you know what? Their propaganda, their movies are very well made. I mean, and you know what?
Good old Spielberg.
Yeah. On a technical, from a technical perspective, all those movies are still technically well made. And you know what? Besides Yuri Bezmenov, the guy who tried to woke America from this slumber, and he said, bros, you are subverted from within. Just look at what the movies are like.
Just look at your surroundings.
Exactly.
But think about it. Maybe Yuri Bezmenov was the catalyst to the destruction of the American society, because they input the idea through American society by making Yuri expose it. But the majority of Americans were like, communism will never take over America. That's a silly idea. Oh boy.
And you also how he gave examples of how, let's say in a movie, how a figure of authority, a general from Pentagon, is portrayed as a warmonger, as a fat warmonger, maniac. A policeman is portrayed as a fat slob who's eating donuts all day, but you have to respect him because that's what authority is. And a criminal is portrayed as a liberal, as, oh, he smokes pot, okay.
Poor criminal,
poor criminal.
Society is
yes, blah, blah, blah. Society is what is keeping that poor criminal down, and he's a criminal because of society, and of course because of those white corporatist guys,
which are not owned by white men.
Yeah, exactly. They are owned by blue men, let's say. Blue guys. Blue guys.
Oh, blue guys, sorry.
Yeah.
It's like the song, you know, the bird is the word.
Bird is the word.
Yeah, we could make we almost could make a parody of that. That would be
Oh yeah, that would have some legs for sure. Berg is the word.
We have a good idea.
Berg is the
word. I mean, to a certain extent, our societies are going to implode like that in a euphoric kind of realization of reality, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not going to be positive for everyone and funny for everyone. But there's going to be a lot of us laughing. Yes. Because conditioning can't sustain itself, brothers. A castle made on mud will always crumble, and lies are mud.
And you know what? This huge propaganda machine that Hollywood is, if you watch the numbers, they are in big debt right now. They are losing money by the billions because people are not watching their movies anymore.
Yep.
Because let's face it, they're slop. They're slop.
Well, they're too obvious too. I mean, there's a
Yes.
limit to trying to subvert a society into aiding itself.
And
Like
they-
when people notice that you're just trying to diminish them constantly, they won't even have to say it
Yeah.
kind of mentally without, they're not smart. They're maybe a little bit more on the simple mind of things, but their subconscious will tell them, stop going to watch that. It's insulting you.
Exactly. And most people, I would say, have woken up to this multicultural thing that they try to sell us through movies, through TV series, through commercials. If you see a commercial, you always see a mixed family. You never
Yeah.
see,
If
I
they're
would say,
non-white, they're allowed to have they're allowed to have a same race couple in the commercial. That's what I've noticed as well. Like they're able to have some, mulatto looking, couple with happy kids, but if there's a white guy, she sure as shit ain't gonna be white.
yeah.
Or if they are white, they're both gay.
Oh,
Yes,
there you go.
exactly.
Yes.
It's for some like, herpes or AIDS testing website.
It's like some medication for AIDS.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
or
here
anti-racism.
I wanted
wait,
to
remember the one they were running during the election cycle where it was about it was against abortion or something, and it was like, oh, then if the goal is to kill your child, then they're allowed to be white.
Yes, yep.
Do you remember that
I do
one?
remember that one. Yeah, I don't have it saved or anything, but I do remember seeing that. They're like, oh, if you're just too white, a white couple, you can come on. Vote for this side. You'll be able to kill your child easier.
Yeah.
And in my country, Romania, we I would say whenever you watch a pay-per-view, a non-pay-per-view channel, which has commercials, you would see, I would guess 8 out of 10 commercials are pharmaceutical products.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Big pharma in a country like Romania, and I would say big pharma in America as well.
They've been selling here for a while.
Yeah, they play a huge role in controlling society.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, COVID.
Exactly. And I would say that this whole COVID lockdown thing, it kind of backfired on the
nation.
I would say on Hollywood mostly, because it conditioned people to stay home, not go to the cinema, and not watch their movies, not pay for their movies.
Yeah.
If you see most of the time now, a movie sits in the cinema, in the theaters for, I would say, less than 2 weeks, and then you would see it on Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu. And this backfired very bad on Hollywood because they are losing money. And you have to realize that Hollywood is the biggest propaganda machine ever created in the history of humanity, I would say. And
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM.
Yes, 21st Century, Fox.
Universal.
Yeah. And
Paramount, that's another one I remember seeing a lot.
And all those Weinstein types.
Steenberg.
Steen?
Yeah.
The Steenbergs.
Yeah. And they always talk about, Russian propaganda is very powerful. Please. Russia doesn't hold a candle against Hollywood.
Yeah,
Nope.
Absolutely.
Do you think, guys, that we have any idea of what's really going on in our own countries through our own media? So imagine trying to know what's going on in Russia.
Well, I'm hearing... they have their own propaganda. Don't get me wrong, they do have
Yes, they do, but we won't know.
Yeah, because as they say, as I say, actually, the Iron Curtain never actually fell. The Iron Curtain, I would say, moved a little bit to the east side of the globe.
Just to keep a separation of narratives, I bet, kind of just so they could manage it separately.
It's like red team vs blue team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see, are you guys familiar with TikTok in China?
Yeah, what's
the app called?
Vaguely.
The TikTok in China is vastly different from the TikTok we have here. Here we have literal brain rot in the Western world. So TikTok here is a tool of brainwashing and a tool of destruction of the very minds of our youngsters.
Yep.
But in China, I was baffled to see that China has a different version of TikTok, but they have their propaganda. They show children loading guns, loading AK-47s. They show children planting trees. They show children reciting the national anthem.
Making a garden. They make like little projects to construct like little chimneys to cook their own food.
Exactly. It's how to survive on the front. How to survive.
Too. That was mind blowing.
Oh my God.
And here they learn about 28 genders.
Yeah, and they do stupid dances on TikTok.
Yeah, and they
and
have
stupid
people
trends.
talking about stuff that don't exist. I saw a video about Wakanda being a real place. I thought that it wasn't like it was just a farce. Then I started to look in the comments.
Nah, the white people destroyed Wakanda because we were jealous of their black supremacy.
Yeah, and they also had vibranium.
Vibranium.
Oh my God! Why?
Yeah.
The next time a black person tells me they went to space, I think I'm going to just agree with them.
Yeah, just get by. They'll stab you over a fucking bench seat at a track meet. That's the new thing going on in America today. Some sub-Saharan kind of stab some dude over, over him telling him he's in the wrong seat at a track meet.
Yeah. And he was a kid. How old was he?
16. 16 was the murder. God. He had a twin brother.
Yep. The twin brother had to hold him in his arms while his brother was dying.
But I shed a tear when I watched that shit.
What was his name? I forgot.
Metcalf was the last name. Austin, thank you. Yeah, Metcalf was the last name, but his twin brother had to hold him.
And you see, this is what propaganda is. Where is the outrage?
It's worse than that. It's worse than that, Gio. The father came out and said this is not about race.
Oh,
he's a good Judeo-Christian. God. He's a great Judeo-Christian.
And you ever seen? I saw someone post this, and I don't entirely sure on the validity, but it sounds about right. Where the DOJ will send out agents to go talk to parents and be like, you have to say this stuff or else know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they have coaching staff,
they do that. They do that, bro.
Yeah.
My God.
There's no free speech. There's just a free perspective of speech. You have a perspective or an ideology of freedom, but everything that they do is like a pressure on a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little valve, and if you take that little valve off, you're in big danger. So they're just adjusting the pressure of society to keep it from imploding or exploding.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that was how I predicted that Trump was going to win the election, because I was like, if they try to go too far left, too many people are going to wake up. So they need to swing it back in the opposite direction a little bit.
But it's not working because
to maintain
going too far on the right.
Yeah, I mean, it can only work so well, right?
And they're basically the different sides of the same coin. There's no such thing as an opposition. I've seen
No, there's no.
a few days ago, Viktor Orban. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah,
No.
I saw him boasting about being just a haven, just for the silly billies.
Yeah, Hungary.
Hungary, yeah.
And
the new Madagascar.
And he retracted from the International Criminal Court. He retracted Hungary
because they
from
were
the
going after Milikowski.
Yeah, he was because
Netanyahu, sorry.
Yeah.
No, keep saying that. It's funny.
It's tough.
The audience, I don't think they're familiar with his real name.
Yeah, there's a lot of name changing in Hollywood and politics. I'm pretty sure most of the prime ministers there changed their names.
No, they don't have to anymore. It just gives the wall.
Oh yeah, they already purchased the Western economies with the Federal Reserves and all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm. They don't hide anymore.
Exactly. They can hide behind legislature and
but they do still hide to some extent. Have you ever seen what's that channel? Leather Apron Club. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
He did a study. He did a study and it was like they were still like 4 or 5 times more overrepresented in how often they change their names.
Wow. I wonder why.
It was like 4 or 5 times more often than Europeans do.
Maybe we should start just changing your name randomly just to have fun with them. Like we all change our names, we all make Bergs and Steins and Steens just for fun. Just
some of the handles I see on these Twitter profiles are hilarious.
Don't do that. You're gonna get jacketed.
I'm never doing that. I was joking. My dad would hunt me down to slap me.
And you see, I would say all this name changing. It's what is it called when a predator does that? Aggressive mimicking.
Yes.
Yeah. Mimicry. Yeah. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Aggressive mimicry. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
But that comes from simple-minded people that are only based in survival type of instincts. If you compare the ideology from that survival instincts to ours, we are civilized compared to them. They are always interpreting stuff as they do to others because they fear us. But in the end, we're not seeing the things as they are. There's a big difference between the ways of perspectives of our perspective and the perspective of Black people and certain other races, which their brains are not made the same way as we are.
And we have been conditioned and brainwashed for more than 70 years, I would say, to accept the lie that we are all the same. Oh, it's just skin color. His color, no.
It's funny. Skin pigmentation is one of the least significant differences.
Exactly.
It's almost every single one of the most significant differences in between the races of man, whatever, are mental.
Brain capacity.
Yeah, like brain function, brain capacity. Those are all like the most significant.
And also,
all of us are able to make concepts.
Like imagine
in your mind.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but they can't.
No,
so they can't.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
I can't even
that makes us good.
Yeah. They can't see in the future. Or example, when you're playing chess, you're able to play like 2 or 3 or 4 plays in advance.
Yeah.
But they can't. So they get insulted because they look at you and they know that they can't really win in a mental perspective. Like it's a very
like hypotheticals are difficult for certain people with a.
Mm-hmm. So there are certain kinds of people that even if we try the best that we can to integrate them in our societies and civilizations, they don't have the capacity to understand these concepts.
Yeah. One of my coworkers mentioned the melting pot recently, and I was like, well, did they assimilate? Like, like another coworker brought up Germantown, I think Germantown, Pennsylvania, if I'm correct. And I was like, it was something where some bullshit crime was going on there. I was like, it's probably nice while it was still Germantown, you know. And I don't know. I'm just trying to learn the nuances of like trying to just sow the seeds, get people to critically think. But it's difficult in this modern age where people have been truly subverted, truly brainwashed, like
It's self-hatred.
yeah, absolutely. Self-hatred. I forgot who said it. It was someone framed it well. Empathetic suicide. They
Yes.
I really, if any of y'all might know who it is, I'd love to credit them to it. But like
in Canada, it's legal for people to ask the government to kill him.
Oh yeah.
Made medical assisted induced.
Yeah.
Suicide.
Yeah. And
as far as
it's getting on a rise now. It's getting
I forgot,
rise
what
now.
some girl against her parents' protests
Yeah.
got a government sanctioned shot in the head or whatever it was.
No. It's like it's the same thing they did to prisoners. They euthanize you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
It's an injection.
Like a death row inmate.
Yes.
Canada, you go to the doctor and they're like, you go to the doctor and they tell you one of two things, right? They're like, we don't have time for you, or kill yourself.
Yep.
That right there is the Magnus Hirschfield.
Well, yeah, but
that's another way. That delays it a little bit and makes it significantly more difficult for everybody else.
They get some more. They get some more money out of you that way.
But guys,
chop your pecker off.
If you look at the rate of suicide in men in our white nations, it is above 50% it's between 30 and 50 years. As I grew up, and I'm 42 years old, I had to live through a very hard life, and I'm happy to be alive because in my group of 20 good friends, there's at least 10 of them that committed suicide. And this is from conditioning and indoctrination into self-hatred and the loss of masculinity in our society. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to fit. Everything they think is bad. Everything they do is bad. They want to have their children. They can't. Like even one of my friends, it took him like 10 years to have his children from a woman that was a junkie.
Oh my God.
Damn, I'm sorry you had to go through that with losing your friends.
It's life, but I mean, it made me who I am, and that's why I have the convictions I have to not let this system keep doing that to younger men.
It's just crazy to see so many people are incapable of questioning their circumstances. Like they just go through it and accept it day to day. That's whatever MSN places in front of them. Like that's another thing about like internet browsers and stuff, because for people who are working, that work on computers and stuff like that, their browsers that they use are very, integral into what they see. So every time they load up a new browser, you get some bullshit headline of, Trump talking about some Canadian tax, like, like
irrelevant.
Yeah, like it's anything that approaches the real, real central truth of the conversation. And I don't know, it's just I've struggled, since I've been here. It's better now, but I was very disconnected with all the. I have a coworker that's gone to 70 fish shows, like those. Yes, like the fish shows, like this is like hippie band. It's like I'm working around these people that are so already ingrained into their own mind, like all these distractions, like they're just hippies or golfers, but they're all smoking. It's like they're all smoking just to get through the day to day. And I don't know. It took me a minute, and like I said, I'm glad I found y'all, so I was able to educate myself.
It's a defense mechanism, is what it is.
Yeah, and it's just
because everything's subverted, and like your subconscious can figure out that like things aren't right, everything sucks, whatever. And
So
and so your conscious brain is like, okay, we need to like not think about this. We need to go into these other distractions.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned earlier sports, music, 70 concerts or whatever.
Yeah, golf. It's golf crazy. And fish concerts. That was a new one for me. I was like, this dude
I had no idea what you meant by that for a second. I was so confused.
So yeah, it's like, a band. It's like some hippie jam band that was like it's not spelled F-A or F-I-S-H.
It's P-H.
Just say distraction so everyone understands.
Yeah, it's just a distraction, and they say all this like they don't talk much in their songs because it's just for people who are tripping on acid. But the few lyrics are just some like little pat on the back, feel good, like just something that so people don't they feel how they feel, and it doesn't aggravate anything. As far as like the current circumstances, there's like, let's just everybody's just a friend, it's all love, let's just open up these gates, man.
Nope. Before we had brotherhoods, we had places to go for men to be able to have a moment to talk to each other, to function between each other, and to relate to each other. Now that's destroyed. So this conditioning has been going so long that, in my opinion, the natural prediction of this is a kind of like the effect of a switch, but a very violent switch of reaction. It's like a survival instinct reaction or knee-jerk reaction to feverish attack. It can't sustain itself because it has already attained a level of it feels like it's already like a domino effect, and it's something that has been started like all the events that we are seeing in the last weeks, and it's racing towards something because they have no choice. There's an emotional instability that's been growing for decades.
When you create global Weimar, you have to expect a Weimar response to this. What was the response to the Weimar Republic from the 1920s and early 1930s Germany? What was the response?
Some nice bonfires.
The rise of national... Yeah, the rise of Christian nationalist movements.
Exactly. And what are we seeing today? Globally, the same thing. History rhymes.
Exactly. It's a cycle.
Exactly. And all this brainwashing, all this propaganda will inevitably backfire on them, because we, the guys that are present in this podcast, we are a small minority. We have to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But every global revolution was started has started by a very small group of individuals, and this is what our movement is for. You remember, I'm sure you are familiar with the Reconquista of the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal. Spain and Portugal were under Ottoman rule for
700 years or something.
Yeah, better part of 700-800 years.
Yes. And it started from 50 brave men.
Yep.
50. Yes. I didn't know that. Like there's still a lot I have to learn about the Reconquista, but I didn't know that it was started from such a few number.
Yes.
I will tell another good one that they have put in our faces to show us what we did one day, and it's even related to the Bible, is when the Persians and the scribes and Pharisees tried to take the freedom away of the Greeks. The Greeks resisted, and they pushed them back into the seas. If you read Matthew 18:6, you will understand what I mean, because they were attacking
Look that up. Matthew 18:6, you said?
Yeah, Matthew 18:6, and it relates a lot to the same ideologies of protecting the origins of your culture, like the small ones, the little ones. If Persians and And the scribes would have taken Greece, we might have not even existed.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking like because a lot of my coworkers, they just have this innate, anti-Christian response because of all the media they've consumed that I consumed as well, but I was just able to see it, or to see it as it was. But they sit there and I don't know, it's just they just have this anti-Christian response because of the media they consumed. And I mean, and it's like I don't know. I'm just trying to like in certain conversations because they always talk down on Christians, and those stones fall at my feet as well. Like I just sit there like, oh, I didn't know I'm a gossiper. It's like they always talk about Christians, albeit the modern Christian churches. That's what they latch onto because that's what MSN places in front of them.
Conditioning.
Yeah, it's like they put the Joel Osteens and what's that other one, that demonic looking face? They put these guys in front of you.
Kenneth Copeland.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Kenneth Copeland. I was thinking of that one video where he was snapping at the reporter for his private jet. But
I give you an advice, brother. First, stop trying to communicate with the people around you that are working with you. Try to reach a church because
I do need to find that. Like I genuinely do.
Because you're going to create more stress for you in your work area. So you better try to take that part of your life out and keep that kind of like cool head, and you can't change them and they're working anyways.
I'd rather be an example, It's like I'd rather be an example, so whenever if they want to talk down on Christ or followers of Christ, like then whenever they make that argument, they look at me and they see that their arguments, they see their arguments don't hold water.
But there's a thing about Christ too, is that you have to learn to ignore the ignorant.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Since I've been trying to it's been 3 years, since I've been trying to wake these people up. Well, since I've been working here, but
that's the point.
Some people aren't
receptive. There's two pieces of wisdom that we have largely forgotten, and that is one, don't throw pearls before swine, and two, learn to dust the feet, knock the dust off your sandals.
That's a very good point there. That's a very, very good point. You need to put your energies where they're needed,
where it matters, exactly.
Where there will be fruit.
And you see, all this bastardization of Christianity has been funneled forward to the masses by Hollywood, by also by the Bolshevik movement.
Oh yeah. It destroys the community. So community is Christianity. It becomes kind of like a melting pot of belief, but you really can't put yourself into Christianity because they're communistic.
And exactly, I've noticed that even my grandma, she knows this very excuse my language, cuckold version of Christianity.
That's what I was raised in.
No, not me.
A version of Christianity that has been
weakened.
Weakened, exactly. Christianity is not a religion of tolerance.
No.
This is what we've been brainwashed all our lives. Oh, remember what Jesus said? Turn the other cheek. Yes.
Exactly. That is
yes, however,
turn the other cheek doesn't mean be a doormat.
Exactly. Turning the other cheek doesn't mean exactly. Be stoic about your circumstances. Exactly. Be stoic about your circumstances.
Don't act like black act.
I'm gonna cut this out.
Sorry.
I'm gonna cut this thing. I can't show this.
Well, that was something I was raised in as well. Was just this, how Derek put it, the doormat ideology of the modern Judeo-Christianity.
Oh no, not me, brothers.
Yeah, and it wasn't also. I don't know. There's just so many things, so many disconnects where you look at how they act and what we've been sold as, ideology, and I was like, well, maybe they're not our brothers, as
Nope.
so
They're
I
not.
just I don't know. It was something because my family still hasn't come around to that. I talk about it not constantly with them, but like whenever the situation comes up, that's why they don't breach these conversations with me about economics or government.
Yeah, I have that title too in my family.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know. It, it's I'm just trying to like you guys said, it's good to focus the energy on the people who have the capacity for understanding it. So I just need to move on. Like my coworkers have made some progress, but it's not anything that would be of any use,
This
in the
is the
movement.
Easter. This is the story of wisdom moving on.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the idea of Christianity.
Yep.
Wisdom moving on. There's people that will drag you to mud. You can't let them do that.
Yeah, and also you can't waste your energy with people who are not willing to receive your message. If people are too deep into their own brainwashing, it's impossible. I mean, especially with boomers. Boomers, it's like talking to a wall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot talk to a boomer.
It's
So
like talking
aggravating.
to an emotional sponge of nothingness. Every word makes them react to something. I love to make my mother react with words. Like I just say specific words, like oh, son, no, don't. And I'm like, okay, mom.
How dare
I know
you?
you're exhausted. Okay. But now she says it's the silly billies. And now she doesn't want to have certain people in her society because after 20 years of talking to her about all of this, she's like, you know what? You're right. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
We've been
Thank
trying
you.
to say it.
Thank you. Better
So,
late than never.
All you have to do is
Yeah.
look. You just
So,
have to look.
Dubs, that's a good example for you to not abstinate on the things that might take you 20 years.
And you see, Christianity is the most demonized religion in the world.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah, we're dangerous.
Yeah, and they always say, oh, the ones that are in charge are white Christian men. Really? How can you say that? How can you say that with a straight face?
I don't know.
When Christianity, look at every death metal or black metal, or not every, but most of them, what they blaspheme and demonize the most, Christianity, anti-Christianity. In every Hollywood movie, not every Hollywood movie, but most of them, you can see a anti-Christian message. For example, let's take Titanic. If you watch Titanic, I mean, I think you all watched Titanic once.
No, I didn't. I know why, and I'll explain why. Okay,
because actually, I don't think I've ever seen that movie straight through.
Yeah, I made it a. I remember the events of the Titanic, like all the movie and the social weirdness around the movie, and I was like, I will make it a duty to not look at this movie that feminizes men into nothingness.
If you watch Titanic, it's a scene where there are some Christian lady who is just praying, but not fleeing to safety, not fleeing, just praying. And this is the portraitization of Christianity that is weak. Christians are not
just
like
don't
that.
do nothing. Just don't do anything. Just accept death.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
Don't climb up some stairs.
Yeah.
There's an idea I can get behind. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Imagine God just saying, if we hypothetical, okay? They die and you go to heaven. So you meet St. Peter's at the door and you're like, yeah, I prayed. St. Peter's like, yeah, and?
Did I drown?
I prayed. Okay, and what did you do then? Well, I prayed. So you're going to tell me that all you did was pray? do I have to let these in? Like,
You
I
know,
don't know if it's part of our Christianity.
I think that's what they've been pushing was in what partially I was raised in was the complacent Christian, was the
exactly.
the blind accepting Christian, where no matter who it was, no matter what the circumstances were, the only decision was for forgiveness.
Yeah, but no.
And that was something where I that was another disconnect. Like I said before, like I was I lost, and I think maybe I can't remember whenever I was young why I left the church, but probably because I wanted to go, dick around, just doing, middle school and high schooler shit. But I don't know. It really wasn't until I looked at society as a whole. I was like, well, society's pushing me away from that, so I just decided to inquire more. And thankfully, I'm not some MAGA Q. I don't even know what they call themselves.
I still love that people.
The actual tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
genuinely.
the Q people.
QAnon?
Patriots in control. Trust the plan.
That's I don't even know what they call themselves. Like the Q. But I don't know. I was just grateful to have found something as substantial, like where I can educate myself as far as legitimate history, but we can have an intellectual debate.
You don't sound to be away from a long time, so it's going to take you a long time to process all of the because there's so much stuff in this that it gets rough on your mind to a certain extent.
Yeah, I can understand that. I don't even know. That's why I'm asking about. Like, the only reason why I would be bringing out my coworkers is to make my workplace more tolerable, so I'm not surrounded by like some,
I'm sorry.
Oh, dude, it's tough. But I'm sure
NPCs.
You guys. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have many experiences with people of the same, the same cloth. But
from 12 years old to 42 years old.
I just ignored them. I just ignored them.
Yeah, that's what I've been leaning on. And I was talking with Jo earlier. Mac, how long have you been available, or like been aware of the the problem, the JQ?
Everything. I was born in a National Socialist family in Croatia. So my father, at 14 years old, he told me, like, son, you never date a silly billy. If you do that,
disowned.
You are not my son anymore.
Oh my god! So, bro, I gotta buy your dad a beer. That man is a legend, man.
I did well, no, but he called me. Like, I was 1 year before 9/11. I was eating supper with him at a restaurant, and he starts to laugh reading the journal, the newspaper, and he's like, "Hey, son, they're talking about like / Pearl Harbor event to send the armies and to start a war in the Middle East." So I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, come on, a war in the Middle East." Fast forward a year after that, I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping in my Nokia rings, and my dad's like, "Oh, I told you, son, they're going in the Middle East." I'm like, "What the hell? What?" Yeah. So I get up and I sat down in front of the TV to see the second explosion in the towers.
Golly.
My God.
So you guys were well aware of it
from the start. I mean, ex-Yugoslavia, the World War II, what happened to Yugoslavia? No one knows the truth, but they think they do. They think that you liberated us with the Russian army.
What a liberation.
Yeah, well.
I like the stories of when the German army liberated the East from their Soviet control during the war. And the people were so happy, and they rounded up their oppressors and like offed them.
It's like, I think they were greeted by flowers, flowers.
Yeah, exactly. In Ukraine. In Ukraine, they were greeted with flowers. Exactly.
Yep.
Ukraine,
flowers and love.
Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. They were greeted with flowers. They didn't find a single pocket of resistance.
France, everyone says that France retreated or France capitulated against the Germans. France was not equipped to fight a war for many, many reasons because it was being bankrupt by a usury system as well. And to many of the Frenchmen that I know from experience, known working in my life, a lot of them didn't agree with the fact that it was a surrender. It was more of a joining with, because as not many people remember, but one of the last divisions that fought with the German army was
SS Charlemagne.
SS Charlemagne, which were French Alpine soldiers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep, they were one of the last ones in Berlin.
Yes.
You see, another version of history that has been hidden from us.
A lot. Everything. History is written by the victors.
The victors. Exactly.
Of course.
So
I'm just picturing there's a couple of crucial truths that they put bumpers around regarding World War II just to sell it to everyone. And I forgot, I was watching someone recently that was just saying that, talking about the World War II history that is taught in Germany, and it was just like,
oh, I know. I am familiar with that.
I'm glad you guys have some more insight, because from what I just saw, that it was just like a small group took over all of Germany or whatever, and they just happened to become a superpower.
According to my grandpa, when that in 1933 happened, people were celebrating from Germany to the very bottom of Croatia.
The entire continent was happy.
Yeah. And also, I have to point this out. Pope Pius named the Austrian painter Europe's champion. It wasn't Mussolini. It was the Austrian painter who he named the champion of Europe. Yep. Because you have to realize that what the Austrian painter did was the impossible, to pick up a country, a defeated country, from the very depths of depravity and the economical collapse, and he transformed it in less than 5 years in the first economy of Europe.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, I mean, how do you think he won Times Man of the Year in 1938? People just gloss over that like it didn't happen.
My goodness.
Like it was a joke.
It's just a glimpse into the psyche of like a regular, like to someone who's just going in the stream. They don't question anything because, that was a long time ago,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
It
was 60 years ago.
I was thinking about the same guy.
80 years ago.
It was just the USS Liberty. Don't worry about it.
That happened.
JFK was 60 years ago. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
So what? It says Mossad. Whatever. We're good.
Yeah. So
disgusting
this ideology.
Individual.
Yeah, but that's the idea. All of those little things that they did resonate to people, because like my mother is almost 70 years old, and she heard me tell her for like almost 22 years about all of those things, and slowly she hears the reality that I was saying the truth through the media, and she's like, what?
Yeah. I'm sure it's tough.
She told me, I can't manage this because I'm too old, but I trust you, my son. So for me, it's a victory.
Whoa.
No, that's a great victory.
Well done.
Yeah, it is. And I would say
it proved it breaks, conditioning breaks.
And I would say that the catalyst for the people waking up in the past 2 or 3 years was the September.
October 7th.
No, October 7th. Yes, thank you. October 7th attacks.
That's a good one.
And how Israel responded to that attack by more or less committing genocide on Palestine.
Yeah, but that's the ideology. They say that they are victims, but all this time we are observing a different thing, and we cannot even say it or talk about it because we become certain buzzwords that they emotionally create to stop people from thinking.
Exactly.
Conditioning.
Yeah, and the damning part is like there's so many avenues for distraction nowadays. They have an avenue, like they have distractions for any person of any, you know,
Background.
desire. Yeah. Whether it's sports or movies
Movies.
or just slop, you know, whatever goy slop it is, they can.
Yeah, but
it's a damning, like, that is deeply
no,
ingrained.
no. But listen, they have tried. They are conditioning people through football, through all their sports, and it's backfiring. All the LGBTQ, all the. My mother told me like, "Oh, LGBTQ," nah, 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 nah. And I was like, "Okay." The day before, she was crying about a dead cat.
Oh.
You know, my mom's the best kind of like image of a liberal ideal. The day before, she's crying about a dead cat. The day after, she's like, "Oh yeah, we have to take care of these kind of people. They're not good enough." The contradiction is like, I'm like, Mom, I love you, but you're weird.
But you don't notice it. You don't notice that, like they can just trigger you.
Oh yeah,
just on a headline.
Yeah, but I told her, and they understand it. But conditioning is so intense with people that's what I'm telling you. There's a certain limit that the spirit of the younger generation that have awoken will kind of push spiritually the rest to be like,
exactly.
Wait a minute.
So it might just be a matter of like, if someone who is older cannot reconcile it with the truth, then like you guys said, I just need to move on. You know, it doesn't matter anyways. I'm
but in the
I'm
end,
quabbling with ideal consumers. You know, it's like I'm talking with hive drones.
You are basically talking to an NPC.
Yep. Well, not only that, but it's people in Christianity. You know, the importance to have a solid Christian structure is to keep these people safe from being subjected to negative conditioning.
Yeah.
We have the duty as men, as societies, to take care of the weaker ones.
This is what Jesus said.
Mm-hmm.
The word of Christ said that.
Exactly. So as
men, the thing is
that
that principle has been twisted to make us say think that, you know, the weaker is the entire world. Not your weak or sick brother amongst you, but, you know, just everyone ever.
Everybody's an American.
Anywhere.
Everybody.
Yeah. An American is just anyone who is not here yet.
Yep.
Undocumented immigrant.
That's weird. Okay,
absolutely.
Let's talk about conditioning again. In that, the ideology that someone is born in a country and becomes a native of that country, does that mean that a zebra that's born in Quebec is a Quebecer zebra?
I mean, is a horse that, or what is it?
A mouse.
Is a cow that's born in a stable a horse? Like,
yeah, exactly. A cow in a stable, a horse. Yeah.
It was a mouse born in a barn.
Oh.
That means it's a horse?
But I mean, it really is the ideology that everything was twisted to us. And each time we're trying to contradict this, we are being buzzworded to a point of not being able to express ourselves. The idea is that we're still right about what we say, and people still remember this. And slowly, people are like, I think they were right. So, you know, the structure of our society at the moment is on it's on a blade of grass.
It's on a cliff.
Yeah.
And this is what I think our movement and us as Christian men, we bear this responsibility to wake people up to this. I mean, who was the first individual who actually rebelled against the status quo? Jesus.
Yep.
Jesus was the biggest rebel out of them all.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hitler
be-
said, sorry, Uncle H said, I admire Jesus Christ because he was a white man in a corrupted world that called out the scribes and the Pharisees, even if he had a few followers.
Exactly. He had 13 followers, and now his religion has what? 2 billion?
Yeah.
2.5 billion followers all over the world?
Pretty much. And it's been going on for 2,000 years.
And basically created the very civilization that we take for granted.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
exactly.
Yeah, I got into a spat like recently on X and I decided to remove myself, but it was like someone brought up they were like, "Oh, 2000 years of Christendom and this is and what do we have to say for that?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute."
The entire modern world.
Yeah, I'm like how we're conversing now, it's like but
What
I mean,
language do you speak?
yeah, I was blown away.
Yeah.
So it kind of just illuminated some of the internally disruptive forces that we have in the national movement. But
just ask the majority of the people what were the Crusades based on.
A lie.
But what did they were trying to stop?
The
Muslim incursions?
Muslim incursion.
Yeah, what's going on in Europe at the moment?
Exactly the same thing that's happened 1,000 years ago.
Exactly. So
if the Crusades didn't happen, my name would have been likely Muhammad.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I'm picturing too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be alive.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here, I don't think, in the way I am
to fight a
now.
holy war is real.
And this is what we've been and this is what we've been conditioned to think, that the Crusaders or the Spanish Inquisition, those were Christian zealots that
Oh boy.
that just try to go on a witch hunt to kill witches.
Horrible guys.
Yeah, Christianity is bad. The most attacked religion in the world is Christianity.
Yeah, and the two men that are hated the most are the two that represented it the most.
Yeah.
That's well put. Yeah, that's well put.
Being a Christian in 2025, being a white Christian in 2025, it's viewed as being a rebel.
Yeah, or a buzzword. You know, the N-word?
Yeah, the the N-word for white people.
I'm not familiar with that word, actually.
Well, I'll send it to you in DMs.
Yeah, I agree with you though. It seems like people who are like genuinely interested in following Jesus Christ, and honestly, that's society showed me that it was leading me away from that. So like whenever I was removed from society, I started inquiring more. And I don't know.
That's a natural thing, bro. That's the issue with all of their schemes. It's that the natural spiritual evolution of our white races is Christianity. So whatever they do, they try to villainize people like me and you. They try to call us buzzwords, and it stops affecting us from a long time. But society in general is seeing us not as the bad people. We're not the aggressive ones.
Bear, can you repeat the last thing you said right there?
Which
I think you said something along the lines of when you pulled back from something, you started to realize more things.
I'm from. Yeah, I know what we were talking about. So like I removed myself. This was I guess during COVID, and I removed myself from society, and I was just kind of, to be honest, I was working as a lifty.
Okay. The point I wanted to make was that as soon as you pulled yourself back from all the distractions, reality hit you, and it was easier to see things, right?
Oh yeah, that was just regarding the kind of anti-Christian momentum within society, whether that was whether that was like through legislature, like people just scream separation of church and state, and they just, and here we are now. But it was kind of really just the when I was out in Colorado specifically, I just kind of looked at the material like fabrications of our world. I was looking at the big picture, stuff like who could create this, who could create such a, such a canvas that we live on it, And so whenever I started looking at different I don't know, different theologies, it seemed like most of them were just like, well, Jesus is one answer, but we are also the answer. And I was already raised in a Christian, theology. I was raised up until I think middle school, I would say, kind of before I checked out. And I don't know, when I looked at through certain interactions with, different theologies from Jesus, I just came back to try and just to focus on his teachings, because something that for me, I'm new within, Christianity in general, because I haven't really been here that long as far as, my faith. But as far as Natsoc ideology, I just think that I struggled with internalizing and actually living how what I was sold. I was told that we were we just got to open up our doors for everyone. We just got to be the good neighbor. And so whenever I came back to it, I just tried to focus on Jesus's teachings. And whenever, anyone of any ideology, I don't know how they could read, if they call themselves a Christian, if they read Revelations 3:9, I just don't understand how you can see the people who finance our politicians. You can see the people who pump this stuff out in Hollywood. You can see the people who are sniping children and bombing civilians.
Yeah.
For me, it was just kind of that's why I haven't really found a church around me. I'm more interested right now in just affirming, kind of just researching really too. But it's just I don't know. It's just a difficult predicament where we're at right now. And
I think a lot of Christians are like that.
People, and I went to one church, and so just for everyone, if anyone's listening, I would say I'm in North Georgia, and if I go to any different churches, it's some high school or college, musician that's sitting there strumming away on an acoustic guitar and banging on some percussion, beatbox, talking about just kind of placating, just stuff that just gets you by. They want people who call themselves Christians to just, accept, go there each week and accept our circumstances and just, just kind of adapt to them. So I genuinely, I haven't found a church around me recently, but as far as the people who oppose us most, they hate Christ incredibly. And so I just fell back into that. It just seemed like when I was going away from the stream of society, I started inquiring more and realizing that, when people say that these two people, Jesus and the Austrian painter, are the most lied about folks in history, they're not kidding.
Exactly. And you see, this is the bastardization of history also. They said that the Austrian painter, he persecuted Christians. And that is nonsense, because...
Yeah, that was American propaganda.
Exactly, it was American propaganda. Exactly.
They told us he was a madman too, and I didn't know he was sitting on a stockpile of Tabun gas as well. Well, wouldn't a madman, if he just hated, if he was a madman, wouldn't he just send out all of his chemical warfare stockpiles?
Yeah.
Nope.
Mustard gas and
all why would he have spared all the men at Dunkirk, right?
Yeah. And also he was a devout Christian. And
Yes,
he also said that we tolerate no one in our ranks that profane or blaspheme the idea of Christianity.
Yeah, 1928, I believe.
Exactly.
He
Yeah,
said, "We are a Christian movement. We tolerate no one in our ranks who attacks Christianity."
you know where the symbol of their flag came from? From the church where he went to as
The
a child.
Heckenkreuts.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
yeah.
say that again, Mac.
The church where he came, where he grew up. It was in the church.
That makes sense because it was a symbol that was used throughout church history in many instances.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it represents
I mean, in
peace and
the
prosperity.
the German word for it translates literally to hooked cross.
Yeah, hooked cross, yes. And it represents peace and prosperity.
Prosperity in the four corners of the planet.
Yes.
And perpetuality. That's why it points to it. In the reality, they had pointed arrows at the end of each leg because it was infinite.
Yeah. And you see, not only Christianity adopted the windmill, let's say, symbol. Also, you can see it in Hinduism. You can see it in many cultures.
Yeah, it was. I have I can send you so you can show the people. It's an image about where each places where in history there was that windmill spotted in the world, but they don't speak about those things.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna show this on YouTube. Yeah, because it is owned by
I know.
silly billies, and also you have to realize that we white European men, are the most persecuted minority in the world. We are a minority, literally a minority in the world. We represent, I believe, less than 10% of the world population.
Mm-hmm. But we civilized.
Yeah, and then we're only half of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, being a Christian seems like being the black sheep of society nowadays. You are ostracized.
Yeah.
And
but
also,
remember what God said about that. The best prophets are the ones that are most criticized or aided.
Yeah. And you see, Yuri Bezmenov said the same thing in Christianity. There's not a single word in Christianity about equality. The same thing that the Soviet propaganda tried to sell to the Russian people, to the Ukrainian people. They try to sell this idea of equality, and not a single word in the Bible it's said about equality. By your deeds, God will judge you.
Yeah.
The merit of your contribution towards society, to your neighbor, to your family, to God also. And you see, he said also to not strike with the power of your body, to strike with the power of your spirit. Exactly.
But there are certain things in the Bible that could not be concepts that they are today. I don't think that there's the concept of races or other than or white basic races. So this is a disconnect from reality when they include everyone in the world. It was not made for everyone in the world. It was made for us, to warn us, not others.
Yeah.
And that goes with the part that it says like to forgive for a slap in your and to get the other cheek. But if it's your brother, maybe. But if it's someone that is not connected to your faith nor your anything, why would you do that? You can't allow them to destroy. You have to protect your faith. You have to protect your brothers and sisters from barbarians, from pagan attacks, from the degeneracy, and they took that power away from us. But I think that's gonna come back.
It's coming back with a vengeance, I would say, throughout the whole world.
A righteous rat.
I must say something about myself. I have been an atheist most of my life, you see, but I am baptized. I am baptized into the Romanian Orthodox Church, but I in my teens, I even slandered the name of God, and I am ashamed of that. And you see, for me, the catalyst to return to Orthodox Christianity was the fact that I actually saw the devil in today's society. And the main catalyst was around the time of when COVID happened. That's for me.
That's a good moment for a lot of people, my brother.
Yeah.
Because they felt like, imagine all Christians, okay? We didn't even have the honest time to bury our dead.
Our dead
in a conventional Christian way, while others did. We were lied to, and the people that lied to us are protected by a double residency. I mean, just that, brother. That was enough to wake up my mother.
He who controls the history controls the present, and he who controls the present controls the future. This is what George Orwell said. People need to realize that we more or less live in a Orwellian, oligarchic, globalist society.
Yep. That's a big thing. We've been fed so many like literatures where like people side with the resistance, or they understand the excuse me, they understand the obvious corruption of that given society. It's like they read 1984 or Brave New World and see the obvious corruption, and then when they're living it, they don't
exactly.
It doesn't calculate. It doesn't even register for them.
That's why I'm saying it's like the Matrix movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you want to input a mental, this is the ideology why it's dangerous, that we are able to conceptualize things when other races cannot do it, because you can input a concept in white people's minds and their subconscious will accept it as something, well, not normal, but they already have an idea. So when you build a society on a web of lies, it becomes a matrix of reality. There's no real reality. It's just what the society in which you live in, media, sports, all these distractions. So this is what's going on at the moment with us, but you can't keep that going.
What is going on with society for more than 80 years? It's a psychological war that is ongoing, never ending, and it's present in our day-to-day lives. And are you familiar with this? Zanzi?
Yep.
Derek, Bear, are you guys familiar with Zanzi?
I've yet to read that book yet, but
somewhat
I'm familiar
passively
with it.
The Art of Warfare. It's exactly,
I know what you're talking about.
Exactly what Yuri Bezmenov said, and exactly the same tactics of subversion are used upon us, have been used upon us, the Western world, for more than 80 years.
Niccolo Machiavelli said that in each era, in each time, there's a replica of the same things. I mean,
and here we are.
Exactly. I mean, people like us are a normal kind of social reaction. It's in our genes and it's our cultural beliefs. So even if they try to subjugate us to subversion and everything, it is a natural reaction from some of us to protect the rest of us.
Exactly.
And this is the beautiful part about it.
Yeah, that's true. And you see what Sun Tzu said 2,500 years ago. This man Zhang was thousands of years ahead of its time. He said that this subversion, it's an ongoing, never-ending war upon our minds and our very spirits. How do you destroy a country without firing a single arrow? At that time, it was an arrow. But nowadays, let's say, how do you destroy a country without firing a single bullet? Well, you bring in agents of subversion. Who are those agents of subversion? A teacher,
your culture.
Exactly, a teacher, a preacher, immigrants,
Congress member,
directors, film directors, exactly, actors. Those are the agents of subversion. Those are the agents that destroy a country from within. And people need to realize that we are in a war. World War III started the moment World War II ended, and
it never stops. We are all. It's the system of usury. It's based on war. You can't. The system of usury cannot function because in a world without war, people would be like, wait a minute, why do I owe you 2 coins for 1 coin?
Exactly.
You know? So distraction, distraction.
Yes.
It's the same ideology. It comes back to all of that.
And so you see,
I think we can have 1,000 years of peace, but it's going to take maybe 100 years of war.
Yeah. And you see, this is what our movement is made to wake people up and to not make them violent or radicalize them. No, just to wake them up and
just make them aware.
And also cultivate their in-group preference and also
make them question.
Exactly, and to push them into the right path, the path that Christ, more or less, although our movement welcomes also pagan brothers, we don't discriminate.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, I was going to say that we have no problem with agnostics or people who might describe themselves as pagan as long as they don't attack Christianity or the moral framework that Christianity lays out. The foundation. I mean, anything around that would be subversive, but as long as you don't try to,
I mean, it's fundamentally easy to know that Christians are white people, and the structure includes white people, and it's for white people. We do not have to debate on the things that have divided and subverted our Christian faith. That's not to them to discuss. They have to trust us as brothers, as we have to trust them with their ideals. Understand? It's an equal thing. You trust me, I trust you.
Exactly.
So, but in my goal for our movement, for my part, is more of I'm going to start working in those areas, more of trying to help younger men find a ground, find a more stable or a more male prone ideology without feeling guilty about it.
Yeah. I think this is a fine place to end our podcast, gentlemen. It was a pleasure to have you folks here, and thank you for being on my podcast. And
see you next time.
Yeah, yes. Absolutely. I had a lot of fun. It was great to chat with you, gents.